Shalom. My name is Maggie Odell, and I've just finished my first year of rabbinical school at the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York. I also was lucky enough to have an internship this summer at Anshe Emet, the place that I really consider to be my spiritual home. One of my favorite moments every week at Anshe Emet is at the end of Kiddush on Shabbat, when Debbie Lewis gets up with some of the kids from the religious school and they lead the congregation in Birkat HaMazon. Birkat HaMazon has its origins in this week's Parsha, Parshat Eikev, where God commands us to thank God for the food that we have just consumed, which I think is a lovely idea. Not only do we begin a meal by thanking God for the food we are about to consume, but after, when we've eaten all we want to eat, when food is no longer the first thing on our minds, we're still commanded to think of our blessings and to thank God for them. The Ramban says that the manna that God provides in the desert is a challenge, that we have to keep faith that even though God is leading the Israelites through a barren desert, that God will provide for them. But I actually think that it's a double challenge. And to explain this, I'm going to enlist the help of my dear friend, Lord Chief Rabbi Jonathan Sachs of the United Kingdom. He explains in the Koren Sachs Siddur, in the commentary on the Birkat HaMazon, that the psalm that we end Birkat HaMazon with, where it says, "I was young and now am old, and I have not seen the righteous forsaken or his children begging for bread," he explains that that psalm can be translated in a way that I think makes more sense to us, because we've seen plenty of righteous people and their children begging for bread. He says that we shouldn't translate Ra'iti, I saw, as I saw, but rather I watched. So that changes it into I was young and now I'm old, and I have never stood by and watched while a righteous person was forsaken and his children begged for bread. See, that makes the manna into this double challenge I'm talking about. Not only are we challenged to trust in God and trust for God to provide for us while we're in the desert, while we're on our way to being a free people, but we can view it as our second challenge. Once we get to the promised land, once we are free people, we can't just depend on God for our sustenance. We have to take responsibility for each other. The same way we began Birkat HaMazon by thanking God for providing for us, we can end it by exhorting ourselves to provide for each other. And I really think that the Bible upholds this with the idea expressed in the proverb that man does not live by bread alone. It's not enough for us just to take what God provides for us. We have to learn how to care for each other. Shalom.